JR, you just released Redefined.
Yeah.
By Redefined J.R. Smith, a new docuseries from Uninterrupted. What was it like to sit down and tell your story?
I mean, it was nerve-wracking, honestly. Like, when I still think about it, I kind of makes my palms sweat, because back in the day, like when I was a kid, like my education was like always second fiddle. You know, when I was in second or third grade, I remember standing up in front of the class, teacher picks on me, you know, you got to read this sentence out the book that everybody's looking at. And, you know, I'm dyslexic, have ADHD. So for me, that whole concept of sitting there reading out loud was ridiculous. Like, and I was so intimidated, and the words would get mixed up. And like, I just remember that feeling, and like, I never want to feel like this again. And I shied away from my education so much, and I just threw everything into basketball, football, baseball. So I didn't have time to think about anything else. It was just consistently sports. So for now, to start the doc, like they got me reading one of my papers and stuff, and it's like took me all the way back to that same feeling, like feeling that anxiety almost. And fortunately, I've gotten better with it throughout the show, but it was so much nerves, because for one, it's something I'm already insecure of. Two, I'm making it so public. I don't know how everybody else is going to perceive it. I don't know, you know, how my peers are going to look at me now, because I'm sitting here being so open about everything in my life that I've been insecure about. So it's like, it's tough, but fortunately, I feel like, you know, through therapy and have great relationships and friendships, that I'm getting through it.
The natural question I would have to that is the why. Why did you decide to put yourself out there?
Well, for me, I got 4 girls, and I think that's very important to show my girls how submissive I can be as a dad, as a black male dad. They need to see me being vulnerable. You know, it's not enough times where they see me in that light. And for me, I think that's just one of the greatest curves you can give, because, you know, obviously we're professional athletes. We have kids. Some people want their kids to do what they did, whether it be basketball, golf, whatever. And for me, I never really cared about my kids trying to be the next me. I always wanted to be the best version of themselves. And for me, for young women, I think in order for them to be accepted and being able to understand who they are, is a part of that is watching their parents. So when my kids see their mom and they see me, and they see how real we are, and we're not going to sit there and sugarcoat shit. I'm not going to bullshit you and tell you something I don't know. I'm going to look it up, tell you I don't know, and go about it. So when I'm able to be a parent and be influential in that moment, like I'm sitting here writing papers and on my computer, and my youngest is 4. She walks up like, "Dad, you doing homework?" I'm like, "Yeah." She gets her little worksheet she got from preschool. She comes right up next to me. I'm like, that's what it's about. Like I care way more about that than just trying to teach you how to shoot a jump shot.
Yeah.
In terms of the process of you deciding to go back to school, was that were you going back and forth on it, or was that something that, you know, when you sort of decided, I'm done playing, like this is the thing that I wanted to pursue, and you were pretty steadfast on that?
I mean, like a lot of guys who came out of high school, I had the same promise to my mom, like, "Mom, I'm going to go get my education after I get done. I promise you I'm going to get my degree. It's not over." And I get like 9, 10, 11 years in, my mom was like, "You're not going back. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm gonna let you keep that promise. Don't worry about it." And, but fortunately, you know, another NBA brother of mine, Ray Allen, who is a very serious person, very like, you know, regimented guy, who's very, just an amazing person. We went on a golf trip in the DR, and I was watching him going back and forth to his computer and whatnot, and I'm like, "Ray, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm working on my master's. I'm about to get my master's in a couple of months." I'm like, "Your master's? Like, first of all, you're Jesus Shuttlesworth. Like, what do you need a master's for? You can walk in anywhere you want to, and people are going to take you serious. People are going to like just." He's like, "No, it's not about them taking me serious. It's about me taking me serious. You know, continuously elevating myself to be the best well-rounded individual I can be." And I always thought about that from an athletic standpoint. I always thought about it from a basketball player. "Oh, I want to get my handles better. I want to be able to shoot off the dribble better, going left, going right." And I would work at that so much in the summertime and stuff like that, but I wouldn't work on anything else. Like, I wouldn't work on being a better friend or being a better son or being a better dad or being a better boyfriend or husband at the time. Like, I didn't work on anything else other than basketball because I felt I only looked at myself as a basketball player.
So this title of this docuseries, Redefined, strikes me as fitting, especially when it comes to you. Because part of, I think, your story is people's perception of you.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on that in a second. But the other part of it is what you just said. And I think every athlete has to go through that.
Yeah.
Redefining who you are. Because our identity, I know mine was so wrapped up in being a basketball player. And that's a really, really hard thing to let go. And I was particularly struck by this idea that you just so eloquently articulated, which is we spend decades working on our game.
Yeah.
And because of that pursuit, and it is at times a singular, selfish pursuit, I'll be honest.
100%.
Because of that pursuit, we don't work on a lot of other stuff.
Right.
We can be well-rounded individuals, but the work on ourselves, the work on our relationships, dude, I'm going through it right now, you know, in terms of the work on myself. And my first year of transition from retirement was like, great. And then all of a sudden that honeymoon period wore out.
Yeah.
And I'm now like, oh shit, like I actually have some things that I need to figure out.
Yeah.